Hello and welcome to the Vault Dwellers Podcast, Episode 1, Origins. With me I have a fantastic co-host and Mr. Gary Moore. Gary, how you doing, mate?
Hello, I am doing absolutely grand. I'm pleased to be here with yourself on our first episode. It's going to
First
be
of very
amazing.
many. First of all the
Hopefully,
manys.
hopefully.
Obviously, it's myself and Gary's first kind of podcast out, and Gary's done a few things with some local radio shows and things through a good friend of his, and we just felt like this was the time for us to finally get the kick in and get some podcasts going. Something that we've been looking forward to do. I think maybe for 2 years or something like that. We've been thinking about doing this.
I think we initially talked about it about 10 years ago.
10, just all.
Aye, really? Aye. Do you know, I was thinking, I was saying to Siobhan the other day, I was like, do you know, I don't know when we were talking about this, and I was like,
Gary's
I
wife.
think, I think we were talking about this when you used to live in your other house, which must have been about 10 years ago.
That's a long time ago. Gary has grand dreams. Of course, of course, I'm Mr. Mac 92. Actually, I forgot to introduce myself, but we'll keep rolling. And those of you that already know myself will know that me and Gary have been friends since back in the day, since Gary had hair. And I didn't have any hair on my face, so we've been friends for quite some time. And the podcast, the idea of this podcast, probably changed about 2 or 3 times. We won't mention the name that we originally had for the podcast. Somebody else stole it about 2 years ago because we weren't quick enough.
God
But
damn.
exactly. But basically, we've thought of a new name, which we'll explain in a wee bit of time. But I wanted just to get quickly out of the road. We're two Scottish lads. People who don't know us, if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, we will possibly speak a wee bit quicker. Sometimes we'll use some of the funny words that you don't know. Just ask us in the comments what they mean, and we'll clear it up. But we'll try our best to make sure that we keep it clean. And if there's any confusion, then just Google it. Honestly, it's easy enough.
Maybe
So,
if we get to 100 episodes, we might get subtitles on it.
all right, definitely we try and get somebody involved to try and translate some of this nonsense. So, the podcast, Gary, what's the podcast about?
So this podcast is about two friends who just want to talk about the things that they love. So talk about gaming, movies, whatever, nostalgia, all the subjects that we love.
That's
The
it.
both of us wanted to come together to do this. It's a dream that both of us had for ages, and we've just actually had the means and the will to do it now.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I think, do you know, the strangest thing is we probably have the least amount of time that collectively that we've ever had, and
yeah.
it's a strange thing that's true. Gary has two kids, and we both kind of live busy lives, so we usually carve out Friday nights as a game night, and we just decided that this Friday would be the first time that we try and record a wee episode of this. And like Gary said, it's passion topics, it's different subjects, it's different genres. Obviously, everybody knows that I have a good tie-in with mental health, as does Gary. The both of us are on quite a journey together quite often, and it's something that we're definitely going to touch on in the future. Like I say, me and Gary have known each other from back in high school, which is just absolutely crazy to think about. That was when we first kind of met. In fact, I'm not entirely sure. I didn't mention it purposely to Gary, but I do distinctly remember some of the first conversations that we had about PlayStations and things like that, which is probably going to be our main focus, if I'm honest, when we're talking about games. But
Yeah.
I remember it was back, I'm sure, and you have to correct me, but I'm sure it was when you first got your PS3, and we were talking about the differences between FIFA and what the PS2 version and the PS3 version had, and I'm thinking, no way does this absolute moron have a PS3 and I don't have.
Honestly, I think I was about the first person in that school to have a PS3.
Yeah,
I'm no
I
joking.
definitely. I don't know how
I
you
was
swung it.
uh, I was a rare I was a rare breed to have a PlayStation 3 back then because I think it was only out for a few months. Um, and I did actually remember that. I remember that sitting in class talking about that. That's right. That's funny.
So that was that was the first is first of many conversations in our media studies class that we both failed. So I had to reset it the
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
But from that conversation, obviously we had a good kind of friendship from there. Obviously, we didn't speak too much that year. It was mostly the following year. We were in media studies again, and we had a bit of a task of editing a video together. So we spent a lot of time in a kind of room doing editing, very basic stuff, but we're doing some editing together, and that got us talking about one particular game. Now, Gary, you come up with the name of this podcast, put people out their misery. They're no listening to a specific game in podcast. Vault Dwellers. Why the Vault Dwellers?
So Vault Dwellers has a very, very special place for mine and Sean's friendship. It's the game that we bonded over, definitely. And in 2008, as Sean said, we were sitting editing and doing whatever for this class that, again, I think we both still failed. It's the second year round. So Fallout was coming out that year, Fallout 3, and we both of us were interested in it. And I always remember me and Sean were sitting in this class, supposed to be editing. That's obviously why we failed. And we both of us were just on Bethesda's website and we were just looking at screenshots of Fallout 3. And then we were just talking about it. I don't even know when it was supposed to come out. I can't remember. It was a few months anyway. And I just remember me and Sean talking about what we were going to be, what our characters were going to be like. And I think I was always like, oh, my character's going to be a guy with a sledgehammer and he's going to be addicted to alcohol and, really stupid RPG things that you can do in Fallout. And from then, our friendship just bloomed. So, Vault Dwellers, obviously, from Bethesda, from Fallout, is a thing. For that's what your main guys kind of called. They all call them like the Vault Dweller. So I thought that's a perfect name for me and Sean. It just symbolises our friendship, and also metaphorically, because it's like we are going into our vaults, our minds, to
Mm-hmm.
get these nostalgia and these movies that we love and
I see
everything
that. I see that
else.
tie in there that you've done there. It was pretty apt for a wee guy from Glasgow. I see that the light bulb as you put that two and two together there, and you come up with that just there.
$1 million moment.
Definitely. Obviously, when that game came out, we'll not go too much into the game. We'll leave that for another podcast. But I'm pretty sure that it was actually a game that came out and we didn't get it on release, because I know that there was another person that we were speaking to at school. Well, obviously, I'll leave names out yet, but there was another person who had the game, and we were speaking to them about what they were doing and if they were enjoying it. And honestly, that both our hearts sank when they said that they weren't really enjoying the game, and it was like somebody was like playing something that they didn't deserve to be playing this game, because we knew that there was something special about this game. We've read that there was something special about this game, so that
We
was
staked our friendship on it.
100%. We've played the future. This podcast depends on that game being good. Let me tell you that. So, definitely something that we thought it made quite. I mean, we come up with, like I said earlier, we come up with some names, and I honestly was blanking quite a bit on trying to think of a name for the podcast. We were kind of not stuck, but focusing on like PlayStation names and stuff that would kind of focus on that, because at the time, if I'm honest, I think both of us had in our minds that it would just be a PlayStation podcast, although it would probably be like a monthly thing, which is
Yep.
probably what this is going to be in the end up, monthly, or possibly two a month, something like that, a wee bit more manageable. But that was the kind of aim, was it's going to be PlayStation centric. That's the focus. That's what we kind of know. That's what we do. However, the Vault Dwellers, as soon as Gary mentioned it, I thought, do you know what, that's it. That's exactly what we're looking for. It's a name that captures what this podcast is in its essence, and it's two friends just talking rubbish, talking about anything, any topic, any subject. We're going to have guests on eventually. It's literally any possibility, whether we get listeners or not. We're just It's a passion project for the two of us, and we're just really looking forward to putting it out there.
Definitely.
So obviously, speaking of topics, we have two kind of main points. If I'm honest, in the first episode here, the reason that we've called the episode Origins is beginnings. Obviously, beginnings, new podcast, beginnings, friendship, that kind of thing. But we've also thought that it would be a good idea to explain to everybody how we first found games. And what I mean by that is our earliest gaming memories. What is the earliest gaming kind of memories and touchstone points that you would think this was when I first discovered games? That's kind of where we're going to start the day. So I don't know if you want to kick things off, Gary, and what did you go to first? What was your kind of
Yeah.
earliest kind of points?
Yeah, so I've ever since I remember, I've always had games in my life. Always. I've got two big brothers and a big sister, so I was the baby of the family. So for my earliest memories, I remember having a Sega with Sonic and stuff like that, and I've always played them. My mum and dad also are very good with games. Like they'll never one of the people that's like, oh, you're just wasting your time in games. They seen it as a thing, and they were like, that's more than just
Mm-hmm.
it's more than just a game. It's a hobby, and so they were always buying all of his like games and consoles. They were always dead supportive for that kind of stuff. So that was always good. But yeah, Sega was the first one who played Sonic. Um, you're just playing Sonic as a 3-4 year old, and you're playing that first level, getting to the second level and dying and going, okay, first level again.
It's crazy, and honestly, like I was looking. Obviously, we did a tiny wee bit of research. We as podcast newbies, if you like. We don't really know exactly how to prepare, and we will find our feet. Please bear with us, obviously, on that. However, looking at like Sega games, obviously, I started in the same kind of place as yourself in terms of Sega is the first kind of main console. I have one kind of small, slight gaming memory just slightly before that in the hands of a wee Nintendo Game Boy. It wasn't mine; it was a cousin's of mine's, and they had Tetris, and that was the kind of first time I think I'd really sat and remembered even just sitting in somebody else's house just playing this brick game that I was absolutely hopeless at. Honestly, I don't think I got any lines. Never mind, never mind
Yeah,
anything. But
yeah,
it was just one of those things I can kind of remember. Sitting on the couch and think, oh, what's this? Because you're used to playing, with the wrestling figures and that kind of stuff. But I think our family was probably the same as yourself. My dad was fairly young as well at the time, so you're thinking back at what they were doing to kind of pass their time, and playing games. Two of us used to kind of pass the controller back and forward, and we used to play kind of some of those touchstone games. I think obviously Sega was the biggest one. I think that's the one that you kind of most associate. Um, with that kind of early consoles. So
yeah. Definitely for
it's,
their
it's got
age.
to be the first one that comes to mind. So I actually struggled, if I'm honest, to try and think of any of the other games. That obviously two or three came to mind, but try to find the rest of them, I had to do a quick Google just to see right which were the ones that I actually had, and not just the ones that were in the Sega Mega collection that you get about four times on all the different PlayStation
Yeah,
consoles.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I have here just a few like I've got like Alex the Kid. I don't know if you
I
played
never
that.
played that.
No,
No,
it's
never
so
played that one.
strange to so many people don't really mention it, and it was probably like the game I played the most.
Yeah.
Because my dad played it, and I real honestly probably didn't get it, to be honest. And again, level one professional. That was like what I played.
Yeah, exactly.
that, was,
Yeah.
that was the one I played. What about you in terms of after Sonic? On that
Yeah,
on that console.
yeah. I think it was is it Golden Axe or
That's it.
Broken Axe? Golden Axe, yeah.
That's it. Aye.
Golden Axe, exact same as Sonic. I probably played the first or second level about 105 times, and never got any further. And as you always did back in the day, it was just like, this first level is what I'm playing this for, and
Definitely.
I will sink for 40 hours on this one level.
Did you ever play it in co-op?
No, no. I
No.
I think I think I used to always play it when the rest of them were at school
Ah,
because I
right.
was so
Okay.
wee. So I think
Right.
that's when that was my gaming time because I don't
Mhm.
ever remember playing the consoles. I always remember I had two controllers, but I
Right.
never actually ever played with anybody.
Mhm.
But no, I just kind of played myself, especially the Sega. When it got to PlayStations and stuff, I remember playing with people. But yeah, Sega was definitely just more solo. Just my mum just letting me go and just going, here you go, here's
Here you
something
go.
to play with.
Sit down, shut up.
Yeah,
That kind of
yeah, pretty much. Right?
thing. Stop annoying us. Get away and play this game.
Aye, aye,
We
stop me in
did.
the mess of the house.
We did play a few different things. I had an older cousin that was, um, I think John's maybe a few years older than me. So if I was, let's just say 5 or 6, maybe John was the kind of 9 or 10. So we were still quite close in ages, and that he would be when he'd come over, we'd maybe play 1 or 2 games. Plus, my dad still played a few of them. Streets of Rage was one of the kind of games that you could play on that.
Mm.
And so was a game me and my dad played quite regularly, which is Gain Ground. Now, anytime I mention that to anybody, nobody seems to know what it is,
Nah, I've
and
not a
it's
clue.
on every Sega collection. Yet nobody seems to actually click on it and play it because it's honestly it's the most fun game ever. I think me and you played it once. I'm not entirely sure, but it's that game that you have like a character and you're trying to make it to the top of the screen. The idea being that there's enemies, so you can either destroy all of the enemies or you can get all of your characters to the exit point.
Don't
And in
remember.
every level, there's a wee um, character somewhere in the level, usually in a difficult place. You have
Mm.
to get to that character, and then if you can get that character, that once you collect it, it's kind of floating next to you. And if you can get to the exit point with that character, you've unlocked them, and it's like a different move set, a different way that you can shoot arrows or projectiles and things at the other enemies. So usually, if you're playing with somebody that's half decent, you would be trying to just destroy all the enemies, and you don't need to
Yeah.
try and get everybody there. But it's a really really fun one. If anybody's got a Sega disc, check it out. It's super super fun. We're not sponsored it, and Sega doesn't sponsor this episode. Maybe next week. Maybe next week. I still have a
Mr.
few
Mac,
others. Eh?
I think you must have got the obscure Sega games. Top
Yeah.
award for
You,
Mr.
you,
Mac
you
obscure
didn't have the
Sega
McDonald's
games.
game. You didn't have the McDonald's game that you jump about and collect
No,
all the McDonald's
no.
McDonald's logos. No, I had that. Ronald McDonald was at the end. He made an
No.
appearance. Google it, McDonald's. I don't know how. I don't know why I had that, but I had that McDonald's game. That's the
Jesus.
second. We'll take sponsors for the following week. McDonald's. We'll take payment and meals, please. Um, I know that I have a few other games, but I feel like I'm hogging all these shout outs for the games. I don't know if you've got any more on your notes, mate. What you think? If you've
No,
got any other?
Streets of Rage was the other one.
Mhm.
I don't have a great memory of it. I just see when I see it, I'm like, oh, like I remember it, but I don't
Mhm.
remember playing it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But I know that was one because I just always remember like you would
it's that
be able to
style in
like
it.
you used to be able to like kick like payphone boxes and stuff like that. And I always
Mhm.
remember that. I think that's what I always was doing in the game. I don't think I was actually fighting the people. I was always away picking up a pipe and stuff. And like,
Aye.
yes, look, I'm actually picking up weapons in this game. But yeah, I think that's really about me for Sega. It's just always Sonic. I was just that age. It was just perfect. It was a cartoon and a game, wasn't it?
It definitely was. That's for sure.
For that age, it's just that's what you're looking for. And
We
yeah.
played quite a few, just maybe 1 or 2 different other games. I know that I had a few friends we tried to play. I don't know if you know it, Altered Beast,
Never
which is
heard it.
the kind of werewolf game. Honestly, did you play games? Are you even a gamer? Are you a gamer, Gary? Altered
we, we,
Beast. It's
we
on the
went to
classics.
PlayStation pretty quick.
All right, no, we stayed, man. We played the McDonald's hard. We really went in deep. So, like say, Altered Beast is a game that's you're like a werewolf, but you're a pretty skinny werewolf, and I think as you progress through the level, you get bigger and bigger, and it's
Right.
um, honestly, as kids, it was practically impossible, and I'm sure I tried to play it again fairly recently, and it was still impossible. So I've not really played too much of it, but because it's on the Switch, it's on the Nintendo Switch, so I was playing it on
Oh,
the
did you get it?
yeah, it's on one of those add-ons, those things that Nintendo make you pay an arm and a leg for.
Right.
So it's on one of those Sega add-ons, and I was playing it, and it's quite strange to go back and play a game that you'd remember quite differently to how it is now. Like it's
Yep.
quite
Yep.
strange because you feel like the games were much bigger. I mean, I was looking at the Sega games that were released and looking at the PlayStation One games that were released, and like the list could almost fit on a page for how many games released per year. So obviously, we'll get into some of the releases and some of the kind of favourite games, if you like, of the different consoles, and it will take
Yep.
a bit longer to dwindle down. But it's a
Yep.
strange idea that there was only ever, a dozen or two at the very most games released in a given year, and we seem to be getting that almost daily now. So
Yeah.
very, very, very strange.
There's another Sega game,
Hmm.
Echo the Dolphin.
Oh,
I remember that.
you can't go without mentioning it. I couldn't
That
get. I did not get that game whatsoever. Even if
no,
I played it
no,
today,
me
I couldn't
either.
get it.
Me either.
Just
Do you
swim
know
back and forward in that first
that
starting area.
that exactly? That's all I ever remember. I remember you could jump up in the water and you could just let your sonar out and it would blur blur blur.
How
That
did it
was
go
it.
again?
Blur 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 blur. That's all I remember. That's all I remember about that game. And I don't even think I got by in. Like I literally was stuck in that same wee space, and I
That's all I played.
that's
I've never seen anything else. I don't believe there is anything
no,
else. I think
no, I
that's
don't
it.
think so. It's
It's an
just a
open
demo.
world, small small space dolphin RPG, and you just sonar for help, and help never comes. Um, so
It's a
the
SeaWorld
That's the
RPG.
SeaWorld. That's it. That's SeaWorld. Now, I'm not entirely sure because when I was doing a wee bit of research, I did see this last game that I've got to mention for the old Sega, and it was Road Rash. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not entirely sure if it then was released on PlayStation.
I think it was.
I don't remember what I played it on, but I'm pretty sure that I played it on Sega because I can remember that if you played it for so long, because I just remember the first races, and then I remember one time when I started to get fairly good at the game, and then I remember that I got these other bikes, these super bikes, and I never got to that bit before. So I'm pretty sure that means to me in my memory anyway that it'd be a Sega game for me because the days without memory cards and you just had
Mhm.
to start the game for the start all the time. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's maybe my last kind of touchstone on the Sega. Great console. Obviously, there's a few games, Lion King and things like that I remember playing on there. But as far as the earliest memories go, it was definitely the game ground, and there's some football games and stuff in there where my love for FIFA probably spurred on. But other than that, I think we pretty much covered the Sega ground. And do you remember your first the PlayStation One? Do you remember
Oh,
opening it? Do you remember
mammy.
getting it?
Oh, do you know? I think it wasn't mine. I was
Oh
still too
right,
young.
okay.
I was still too young.
Was it a family
Um,
one? Oh
I think it was Mark's. I think it was my
right.
brother's. It definitely wasn't mine. I remember it. I remember it well. As I said, we were pretty early adopters of PlayStation.
Hmm.
Because like all the games you're talking about, like Road Rash and all that, I played them on PlayStation. They were all PlayStation games for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, PlayStation was just amazing.
They deserved a wee pause in the dramatic amazing, as if
PlayStation was just you played Sega and you're like, all right, this is quite good. This has got kind of like some sticky buttons and whatever. But PlayStation, they just
sticky
moved that.
buttons.
Just it just wasn't as good. The controller was dead. Like it was like a toy. The Sega wasn't it? The Sega Mega Drive
Well, that's
controllers.
something I do remember is the cheat codes and stuff like that. Obviously, it was quite frustrating trying to enter. I mean, I don't know if you ever played the Aladdin game on
I never played
Sega.
it on. Never played it in Sega. I played it on PlayStation.
Jeez, man, I'm just showing the poverty side of this relationship. I think, yeah. I stopped playing all these peasant games. I thought these games only released on the on the Sega. I'm like, oh, ABC and all that, I need to put a cheat code in to try and get to the next level because I wasn't very good with my
No,
sticky buttons. Anyway, Mr.
see, see,
PlayStation.
see. What we used to do, was get somebody who'd already played the game on your memory card. They swap their memory card, and they would save the save onto your memory card.
There you
So
go.
then you could go and level select and stuff
There we
like
go.
that.
Yeah,
that
see,
was
there's
that
tricks
was
to
the
the
cheating
trade.
back in the day.
I only had
Yeah.
a few select friends back in the day, so I had to earn my own graft.
that was always good having big brothers. Like they'd play Metal Gear Solid and they would complete it, and you'd be like, "Oh, I've completed it."
Look at the end screen. Look,
Oh, look at that! Imagine
come,
that.
come over to my house and I'll show you the end level. Look, I'll prove to you that I've done it.
But yeah, with PlayStation, I think my earliest memories was like Spyro, Crash. Again, it was cartoon type games. It was just that age, perfect. Absolutely. How can you not love Spyro? Spyro is just such a great game, and
It's
Crash is
strange.
just even better.
The crash for me is it's really weird being a big, obviously a big PlayStation fan. That's I think I've had every iteration going, including the handheld options through the years. But it's weird to admit that I actually didn't own Crash back in the day.
Mm.
We went to aftercare, after school care.
Mm.
So we went into the kind of place and people, where my mum and dad were working for a few hours, and that's the only place that we ever actually played Crash. And obviously they didn't want us playing the PlayStation too much, so you only kind of played it every now and again, and usually there was kind of more boisterous kids, as much as my charisma, if you want to call it that, shines over these podcasts and Twitch streams and stuff. But back in the day, it was just like, oh no, you can play, and then I would get a wee cheeky shot near the end of the day. But I think in terms of I know that one of the earliest memories that I had with the PlayStation was Hercules,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
playing through that. That was probably
Percolate.
that's it exactly, and I was rubbish at that as well. But you just kind of persevere and play, and that was probably one of the first games. And apologies if we're not delving into some of these games. We're hoping that we're just kind of tickling a wee
Yeah.
nostalgia bone for some
Yeah.
people, but we will delve further into other games and as we get into the episodes.
Yeah.
But in terms of PlayStation memories, that's probably one of the kind of earliest for me. Although I'd say more than others. It's really strange. But like say like Worms Armageddon and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably a game that I played countless hours. With it so where you just dig a tunnel as far as you can go in and see how long you can last and see if you can make it so that the lava comes up.
Yeah.
Stupid
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Something that you would never do now. Or if playing against relatives and stuff, and you can quite clearly distinctly remember that they were just letting you win. But other than that, it's the kind of classics, the Raymans,
Yeah.
Ridge Racer. That was another
Yeah.
one that I played quite a lot.
Gran Turismo
Actually,
was
GT, is that
Gran.
a big thing in your house?
Definitely. My big brother's one of my big brothers is an absolute car nut. So Gran Turismo was huge for him. He was the one that basically introduced me to card games all through
Did
my
you play a
life.
lot of that?
Gran Turismo was hard. It's still hard at this day. I was going to say it's hard for a wee person. It's hard for me at this age.
Mhm.
Um, I think again he'd completed it, so all I was doing was going in and
Picking the
ruining.
best cars.
Picking the best cars and probably driving the wrong way round in the track.
I used to do that in the car. Remember the car? Is it Carmageddon? Was it what it was called? But it was like
Yeah, that's
Car
right.
Armageddon or whatever it was.
Yeah,
I had it was only had the demo for that actually, and I used to, just turn right at the start of the race. So all the other cars would go straight forward, and I would turn and just try and like go as fast as I could, get enough speed to like crash like a head-on collision with like one of the other cars, like
yeah.
just because
Aye,
that's what you do when you're a kid.
that's all you did. That's it. Other games in my PlayStation early days was like Tomb Raider.
Oh, that's
Again,
a classic on it.
you're playing it as a child. You're not actually playing it, but you're just jumping about with Lara Croft with two guns and thinking you're brilliant.
I know. Do you know, it's weird because you remember the earliest kind of memories of playing Tomb Raider was being stuck on the first level, which seems to be a common theme of
Yep,
this podcast. Is we're stuck
yep.
on the first level. We should actually probably call it that.
The first level. Yep.
The first level, aye. So the origins, the first level, or stuck on the first level, something like that. But obviously that assault course on the outside of it. I don't
That's
know
right.
how far through that you got to that, but I
Yeah.
distinctly remember playing that when I was obviously quite young, and then replaying it a good few years later and managing to get a lot further in that assault
Mhm.
course. And I don't actually think it done anything. And I was quite disappointed by my gaming growth that nothing happened when you in this demo level with this thing. Maybe something did happen. Maybe I was supposed to do something else, but there was a few things that I knew, like, if you do something, something's going to happen here. Like the button you
Yeah.
press in the middle of the maze, you try and
Yeah.
run out the maze, and apparently I think there was a door that was open, and you could go in this door. And Legends has it that there's quad bikes or something. I don't know how true that is, but that was
No,
the
so I think there is actually. I'm pretty sure there is quad bikes.
that was the
I'm pretty sure
legend
I've
that I
seen it.
never seen. Ah, right, there you
Uh,
go.
and you used to lock your wee butler in the
Oh,
fridge.
100%.
He used
Every
to
day I
come
played
with
that.
that wee shaky tray behind you.
Oh, aye, aye. He had a vibe about him, that's for sure. He was on a few lists, let's just put it that way.
He was about
Uh,
150.
aye, aye, and then some.
He was an
150
artifact
service.
himself.
Aye, and his paper round and all. So he was a strange one, and some strange noises which we won't try and replicate here,
Uh,
but they were very erotic in nature. If you remember correctly. But that's a good shout actually. The Tomb Raider games. I did see that
yeah.
when I was looking up, some of the notes that was one of the games that we were kind of infatuated with when we were wee. Again, it was just being again stuck on levels, and then when you try and play it when you're a wee bit older, and everything just makes a wee bit more sense. It was quite a fun game to play.
Yeah. One of my other my other memories with my sister is playing Abe's Odyssey on Donald.
Oh, oh, that's
And
shout.
we just every time we used to play it together. That was the only game we played together. And I think she just used to watch me, and all we would do is make him fart
Oh, aye, of
constantly.
course, of
Fart.
course.
Sorry,
Uh,
constantly. That's all we would do. Or else I would do the hum nom and take over one of the big yellow alien guys, and then I would shoot all the rest of them. That was it. That was the only way I played Abe.
with the first level,
First level, maybe a second, maybe the
maybe the
second.
second. The yellow guys were on the second level.
But yeah,
It's weird. Abe's was a really a funny one for me. Again, I think that was an aftercare game for me, and we had so obviously you're quite limited in time when you're playing games in places like aftercares and stuff like that because you've only got like a few hours rather than the gaming sessions that you would pull at the weekend. But when we were playing games like Abe, it's strange. You would literally just run side to side and, as you say, make the farting noise, and it
aye,
was like the most fun ever. Like you didn't really need much else for that. I can see why these days, like games like Fortnite and all these other things, like they're so gripping for kids. And it's just such a strange thing to think that when we things like that was just enough to keep us gripped for hours.
can I just say,
Hmm.
playing Abe's Odyssey in an aftercare, that game was brutal as well. Like
No,
literally there was like big drills like chopping people up and stuff like that. How did that get past if anybody?
It was in Ibrox.
I suppose.
It was a rough area, Glasgow, and nobody seemed to pay too much attention to us because it was just like one of the people's old games that they had there.
Yeah, yeah,
So I mean, you're just kind of running about. I mean, obviously, I don't think we really got that far in the game, so I don't think never
yeah.
really had to worry about it more than anything else. I think that's maybe how it happened, but that's probably a good point. We just should really maybe dig into that, or maybe we don't open that door. Maybe it's maybe best not to investigate. I've not got too many other games, but I'm quite interested in some of the other ones if you've got any more.
Not really for PlayStation. Like I kind of, I've got memories. Um, I like playing like Tony Hawk's.
Hmm.
Again, that was a game that you just didn't never got because it was just all about combos and stuff. And when
Yeah,
you're that age, you're
yeah.
like, aye, right. Just in a skateboard listening to Green Day.
So was it solely like PlayStation for you then? There was no kind of real early
Nah,
Nintendo check-ins at all,
uh,
no?
somebody had a Nintendo. I don't know who it was. We had one of the grey old Game Boys in the house, but I don't think I ever played it. I maybe played it once, but I don't. It was never a mainstay in our house. Definitely, Game Boy.
Hearts have literally broken of the
I
listeners.
know. Um,
Neither of
me
us really done it.
myself, I was a Game Boy Color. Like I was definitely in that stage. That was actually one of the things I was wanting to bring up
Hmm.
later on, but if we're
Yeah,
getting there,
yeah.
we might as well just go.
The only thing, just quickly, is when we had I think it was probably still back in the Sega days, actually, if we go back in time a wee bit. But I'm sure my cousin at one point got the N64, which when we played a wee bit of kind of Mario, it has once or twice. But when he got that, they were a kind of Super Nintendo family, so we
Mhm.
managed to kind of borrow that for a wee while. And again, you're kind of playing Mario. It's not quite as fun because usually, my cousin, he would do the difficult levels and give me the controller. And so when it was time for me to play it, I didn't really play too much. But some of the old wrestling games that were on that console, that was really really good back in the day. Obviously, there's some pretty good games now, but in terms of the wrestling games, between that Nintendo game that I played back in the day, and then the very very early SmackDown games, up the barras, that was the that was the kind of that was the
Yeah,
start of that, the
yeah,
kind of chipped games, if you like, and that
yeah.
was the start of playing, your SmackDowns, your early kind of sporting kind of games.
Do you know what's funny? You've just mentioned the Nintendo 64, and I did have a Nintendo 64.
Oh, liar, liar!
um,
Take his PlayStation license off him.
I totally forgot about that when I was even writing my notes until you've just said that.
Do you
But
remember any games then?
Mario 64. Yeah, I think that that and Metal Gear Solid 1 that I completed myself because I had a walkthrough. Um,
Still counts.
still counts, still counts. I knew about the memory card thing straight away. Or pull your what was it? Pull your controller out to fight Psycho Mantis. It
Put it
was
in the
something
second
like
port
that. I was something like that. Your memory card did it, did all that. So I Mario sixty four
with the
was like
walkthrough.
with a walkthrough. I was probably about 6. I don't even know how I read the walkthrough. It must have came with pictures or something.
So Mario 64. Then you must have touched on some of the other Nintendo games,
So
the
Mario
kind of classic games
64
on
was
that.
a game I vividly remember finishing myself. Nobody helped me with Mario 64, and it's probably one of the first earlier games that I'd completed, which is it's a good memory. And also, I think the other game I would play was maybe Star Fox. I can't remember if that was called Star Fox 64, probably because I've written with 64 for the games.
Yeah,
Um, that was brilliant. I love Star Fox as well. Again, I think Nintendo's great for that. Nintendo's great for just having it like you can complete a game. Doesn't matter what age you are. It's not too hard, but it can be
yeah,
hard enough.
yeah.
That as well. That was a great game. I actually that was the kind of game that introduced me to playing games. Um, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." Have I never played
I
it something like this before?
introduced you to play games that you forgot all about
Aye,
it.
I know. Um,
I'll need to check that out actually because I keep seeing it every now and again, and people do mention it. But it's one of the things that it's hard to find time to complete games now,
yeah,
just given the size of some of them, and when you then go back to some of the older games, like I've tried getting back to some of the old games on through like the likes of the Switch, which is really good, obviously for that kind of thing. But it's trying to find time to fit that in and patience with some of the games because I think in my mind anyway I always think of it as old game is easy game when that's just not the case, and I know that's
mhm,
not the case, but it's just one of those things where you think, right, oh, this is designed a long time ago. People were our age were beating it as kids back then, but I think you forget that you've just not quite got the reactions and the logic and time to sit and figure out, how to beat this room or how to get into this boss or, like Super Metroid, things like that in those kind of games. Like I quite like Metroidvania games in different styles, Guacamelee and things is that kind of style, but it's easily led.
mhm,
Whereas like your kind of Metroid games, big map, there's a lot of risk in exploring and trying to find your save points and stuff like that. So when I was trying to play one of those games from back in the day a few years ago, I kind of struggled with it actually. I don't mind admitting that. It's you kind of struggle to kind of have the patience because you don't play those games as much anymore.
yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
think I think also I know a lot of them are like remastered and retouched up and stuff like that, but they still a lot of them still play like that long ago. Like they're still aged when you play them, which it's hard to go back because we bought the Mario, what was it, the trilogy that came with the 64. You know, I was like to all I was like I loved this game when I was young at your age. I was like I had to come play it, and I put it on and I was like, oh my god, like I can't play this. Like I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled with too many new generations of
Yeah,
games,
yeah.
and
It's a
try to
different
go
way of
back.
playing now.
Yeah, try to go back to something like that. As you said, you just don't have the patience for it anymore. Because back in the day when you were that age, that was the new thing. You were like, whoa, this is new. This is oh wait, you can roll, you can slide in Mario. This is new. Whereas nowadays, everybody does it better than that game. So it's really hard to go back to these type of games. I think like what you're saying about like going to maybe try Star Fox again. I just think it's a nostalgia game for a lot of people.
Yeah, true.
I think even if I went back to play like anything like that, I would. I think it is pure driven by nostalgia. Because as I said, with Mario 64, I love that game. But going back to it, I was like, oh no, no way, I'm not playing
Help,
this.
help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So your Game Boy games then is that your kind of the pivotal point, the kind of turning point. Things are moving portable now. You can play games in school. You can play it outside. You can do that kind of thing. What was your first thoughts, memories on the old
Yeah.
color Game Boy?
Yeah, so I always remember. I think I was actually quite late to a Game Boy Color. I think they were out for quite a while. Eh, because I always remember we all went on holiday. Me, my mum, my dad, and my sister went on holiday, and I was like, "Oh, I really want a Game Boy, mum." She was like, "Oh, you've got money." I think it was my birthday or something. She was like, "Oh, you've got money. Do you want one?" And I was like, "I'll just wait and see and see." And then we ended up buying one when we were on holiday. And like everybody who got a Game Boy Color, what was the game you wanted? Pokemon.
I was just going to say, did you get the Pokemon
Did
Game Boy? That's the one
yes,
I
I
had,
did.
the
I
yellow,
had
the yellow
a
blue
yeah,
with the
Pikachu.
Pikachu.
Yep,
That's
yeah,
it.
it's exactly the same. Yep,
Which
Pikachu.
Pokemon was the first
Hey, I actually don't know
color? Do
what
you know?
Pokemon game I was actually played. I think it
Because
might have been.
red was notoriously the first one. Red and yellow was the kind of first
Yeah,
ones. I
I
think, or
think
red
it
and blue.
was. I think it was Red that I had.
We're probably
Um,
killing like most Pokemon like masters here. If there's anybody kind of listening, we're no professionals. Yellow was the
no,
first one I played, but I know that somebody else, one of my friends had red, So I
Do you know
think red
actually?
came first, but I'm not sure.
Do you know? Do you know? I think you're right. It might have been yellow as well that I had because that's maybe what came with the
The Pikachu
that's
thing.
maybe what came with the console. Yeah, it
hmm
might have been yellow. And I think I had Pikachu. I think I went Pikachu as my first
I don't know if
Pokemon.
you had the choice on those early games. I'm not entirely sure though. Did you?
I think you did. I think you still. I
You've
think
always
it
had the
was
choice.
between. I think it was between Bulbasaur, the fire one.
Oh dear. Oh no. I thought. Oh no. Please don't write in about this portion of the podcast. This honestly, it's not. you you could take pot shots at us for days, but if I think with it being red, blue, and yellow, each one of them, your starting Pokemon was driven
You think so?
by that. But
You think so?
again though, then how would you get Bulbasaur because he's green and there isn't a Pokemon green? So
Mm.
honestly, please don't write in about this. But just don't even
What was the
comment
red
on it.
one called again? Was it Charizelion or something like that
Charzelian, Achu. That's what it was called. You can send any of the DMs to Gary91, I think it is, or Gary Moore 91. Just fire them straight to him. No
but yeah,
dislikes, please.
but yeah, Pokemon was a game changer when, like, for me, it was
Was Yellow
total
the
like,
game changer for you, though, or was any of the most recent ones? Because for me, it wasn't
oh
Yellow
no,
that was the game changer, it was Gold.
but well, I had silver actually, but
Boo. No,
I know,
God, I don't know,
boo.
don't know the difference. Don't know the
Uh,
difference.
but yeah, yellow when it came out. See, when I got it, excuse me, when I got it, it was a total game changer for my full gaming
What age were you?
because, oh, God
Rough
knows, I
guess?
must have been about 10, 11,
10.
10. I was still at primary school. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why
I've
I
tr-
always remember? Because
mhm.
every playtime, every single person in that class had a black Game Boy Color, and we all had them in, and we were all playing Pokemon. And there was this one boy who he obviously completed it.
Aye.
And everybody would be like, I'm stuck in this bit, can you do this bit? And you would give him it, and you would go away for 20 minutes, you'd come back, and he'd be like, right, I got you pie that, there you go, and you would give it back.
I hope he charged for it.
No, he didn't as well.
No,
But
just kindness.
I think the thing with Pokemon is it was you were there at the same time.
It took over.
It was such a exactly. It was such a takeover. Everything was Pokemon. It was on telly. You had the trading cards.
Yep.
There was everything
Yep.
toys. Everything. It was absolute mad back
Yeah.
then, and it was such a good culture actually because it actually I think it brought gaming forward and into a lot of people that
Hundred
weren't
percent.
gaming.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Especially that style. I mean, you think everybody always describes it as baby's first RPG. You hear that everywhere, but it really is as much an RPG. It's got every right to be called that as any other game. And the reason I was asking your age is because obviously you're your eldest. Is getting to that age then that kind of 10 marker, and I just kind of thought to myself, would you think that like say all that whatever would you put a controller, a Game Boy in our hand and for like say Pokemon games like, or do you think it's a kind of different thing now?
Well, no, I have actually. I think it's yellow. I think I've got Pokemon Yellow on the Switch actually, on her Switch.
Right.
So she could actually play it. I've never ever showed her it, but
hmm
do you know what? It's actually a good point. I think she would like it. Um, I don't know. She's funny with games, but no, I think she would. I mean, it's like it's as you said, it is a baby first, but it's a perfect game for that age actually.
Yeah, I think
Right.
it's a definite game changer for people. Playing those kind of games back in the day. I'm just not sure now though if given the amount of choice that everybody's got and the kind of mobile games and the easiness of it,
Yeah.
whether Pokemon would stick because I'm thinking about back in the day when you get to that the tree and you can't get by the tree
Mm.
and the wee tiny fence that somehow you can't jump over, even though you seem to be bigger than the fence. But you can't get past the path. Would maybe I
Mm.
don't give people enough credit. Maybe I don't give kids enough credit. But you kind of think like, oh, maybe they'll just get bored and they'll want to try and solve that or get past that bit. Plus, obviously, we were kids. That's all everybody was talking about. Like, how do you get past this? That you couldn't Google
Yep.
it, so you'd be asking somebody like, how do you get over to the island, or how do you get over to this bit? And then obviously it's everybody was kind of telling each other how it was done. So you don't really get that kind of discourse anymore. So maybe that's
Yeah.
one of the sticking points against it.
Yeah. Do you know? I wonder if it was because of the culture that it just helped the game as well. You know, that it was that perfect time, perfect moment for
Definitely.
that
I mean,
game.
we're looking at these trading cards and buying as much of these things as the shops would carry.
Hmm.
Back in the day, trading and doing all that kind of stuff. To be honest with you, I didn't buy that many, but I still bought my fair share.
Hmm.
And to be able to then play this game that you can and see these Pokemon, was kind of something different. And we did have, one of my other cousins had a Nintendo 64, and they had that Pokemon game, the Arena kind of one. I
Yeah,
don't
the
know if
arena.
you've.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Uh,
I've never played it.
I didn't really play that much either, but seeing these kind of 3D, renders of these games was obviously was quite something else. Obviously back in the day, when you seen that kind of thing, because you're looking at these, as I say, you're looking at these trading cards or watching the cartoon or whatever, and then you're the person that's controlling it. It was something else,
Yeah, definitely.
definitely. I don't know in terms of the Game Boys though. I don't think I really played all that much. Other than that, we had a few other games, but it was, I think, of my memories, it was mostly Pokemon games that we played as we moved through the Nintendo consoles. Obviously, with that wee color one, then with the SP, the kind of clamshell one that you would
Hmm.
flip
Hmm.
open that had the light. That was
Yeah,
a big game changer for me. We kind of skipped the advance and what kind of went straight to that. And it was mostly me and one of my friends that would kind of play games. But again, it is mostly Pokemon, and then those 52-in-1 games that you would get, and if you when you
yeah, yeah.
travel abroad,
Yep.
if you cycled to the end of them, they were just basically the exact same game as the starting games, but
That's
just with
right.
a
That's
different
right.
name.
Yep.
Bugs Bunny games and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of the most stuff that I think I ever really had
Yeah.
for back then,
Yeah.
which is quite strange.
Mario. I had a Mario. I don't know what Mario it was. I had a Mario game for the Game Boy, and maybe Pac Man. Definitely had a Pac Man, and that was probably about it. I don't actually.
Yeah,
I think it was just I was a Pokemon machine, wasn't it? It really
oh,
was.
100%.
Um, a Donkey Kong. That was a game we had as well, and I always remember having Donkey Kong.
It's weird that I can only really remember that as again part of the Nintendo kind of era. Obviously, when we had a loan of that console, we had the Super Nintendo, SNES, or whatever you want to call it. We
Mhm.
had I'm sure there was a Donkey Kong game for that, which was quite good. But I don't think I ever played it on the Game Boys. I think the most kind of things I'd played, again, we did play Mario. I think my dad kind of played quite a bit of that. I wasn't really the best at it. And then eventually, like when we started going like day trips and stuff, you would kind of sit and glue to Mario and see how close to the end that you could get. I think that's pretty much it, to be honest with you, for
Yeah,
me, for the consoles.
yeah,
That was as you were getting, probably in terms of gold and stuff. That was as you were getting closer to the end of primary school, I think, for us.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Silver. Silver, I think is maybe even the last Pokemon I've even played. Um, I tried one of the new ones. It wasn't mine, but I just couldn't play it. I was like, this just isn't. I just prefer the old school Pokemon.
Yeah,
I don't
Sword
know.
and
I
Shield
don't know
was
how
really
it
good if
was.
you ever get into that. I think that was probably a game changer. The
Because
party upgrades and stuff,
see
party
see when
group things. That
s- see when the Pokemon are like, oh, this is a Twiglet. He's a tree.
aye,
I'm like, nah, this isn't for me. Oh, this is
aye,
Dishamon. He's shaped like a plate.
yeah, aye.
I'm like, right, you're running out of ideas, so I'm not putting any more time into this.
Yeah.
He's my Pikachu back and my Charles-Alien.
They definitely have, like, they're throwing the darts at the dartboard here for picking up with some names, but I mean they've got to keep it going. So you can't really blame them, but it does lose its shine a wee bit when you dial out the pool, and we're just probably uh, suckers for nostalgia more than anything else, which is the main probably the main purpose behind creating this podcast is to go back and talk about those kind of things, those nostalgic moments and different topics, and then obviously covering everything new as well. That's probably the kind of main drive for us though, is that nostalgic thing of looking back and picking our favourite games and what games that
Yeah.
we enjoyed back then. I mean, to be honest with you, when I was making my notes, I didn't even really think of the Game Boy Color
Mhm.
um, when I was thinking of stuff, because I just kind of focused on that early PlayStation moment more than anything else,
Yeah. I
because those were the
think
standouts.
I think I mean love moments you love is there was definitely Pokemon. It was a total gaming phenomenon in my world anyway. Um, yeah, definitely.
Because we had, I mean, if don't you ever had the wee link, that you can connect it to
Yeah,
the other Game Boys and all that stuff. I remember that because there was maybe two or three of us that used to kind of hang about, and I think we had different games, so you could try and trade or battle or do
that's
different
right.
stuff with
Yep.
with this link. It was quite temperamental, right enough, but I do remember that. But that was right near the end of the kind of PlayStation end of the kind of primary school type
Mhm.
thing. So it was kind of the end of the Game Boys for me. I think at that point you're kind of starting to go more towards. I think my kind of games started heading more towards football and that kind of stuff. I mean, don't worry, I still played that quite a bit in primary. If we circle back to the PlayStation side, when I played like say FIFA, that it actually got to the point that I was playing, seasons upon seasons, and I would write. You've probably heard this a million times in different podcasts and stuff, but I had a bit of paper. I would write all the scores down for that I would play, and I was just trying to see, how many goals I could score every game. And I wasn't putting the difficulty up. I was just trying to score hundreds of goals. And I remember scoring like I don't know how many goals it was in like one game, but just say it was like 20 goals or something like that with Henrik Larsson, right? That was the thing. I'd cross the ball for one side and I'd cross the ball to the other side just so that he would be the one that would score. And obviously, like you're doing these things to try, you're a kid. I'm probably playing on like semi-pro or something like that at this point.
Yeah.
And I actually remember going across to one of the shops. There was two shops, and I went across to this shop where I was wee, and I remember saying to the guy behind the counter, I said, I don't know why everybody's making this big fuss that he's scored this many goals in a season, because I score that many goals in one game with him. And the guy corrected me today. He's like, "Aye, but that's just a game. Like this is this is not real life." And I was crushed, man. I was crushed.
What do you mean?
No, hold on a minute. This is real too. So it was strange, but that's probably one of the things. And I mentioned this to you before, and it's probably something that I was going to keep for a future episode. But I played a lot of sports games between that, and I think if there was golf games, I'm sure I played them. And if there was, I know there was obviously the wrestling games, SmackDown games, and stuff like that, and tennis games as we move forward. Obviously, me and my dad just played a lot of kind of sports games together, but I missed out on some of the kind of classic PS1 games, that people hold quite in high regard, like your Metal Gears. Like I do remember, I do have some memory of playing one of the Metal Gear games that you start under the water in that room. I don't know exactly which one it is. You don't know that,
No,
that's fine.
don't know either.
But I do remember that kind of one and some of those other ones, but it was something that I wanted to try and bring up. And if people are still listening at this point, if they can put some comments or whatever, we'll probably mention it in a couple of podcasts when we make it a wee segment or something where it's a spotlight on a PS1 classic game and try and see if I can make a wee separate list to revisit them. Whether that be on stream or not, I don't know, but just trying to kind of re-educate myself, if you like, with some of these other kind of older classic games, because I don't know. I think they have their place in history. I know that you don't kind of play as much as older games. Maybe don't even play as much games as you once did, but you played quite a lot back in the day. So there's not really
No,
much need for yourself. But I just
no.
think it's something that's kind of worth doing.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's good to kind of go back, especially if PlayStation's bringing this PlayStation One Classic kind of thing.
Oh,
You're going to
that's a
have
good point.
the platform to be able to do it as well. So no, it's definitely worth going back to. Again, I think you're going to go back and you're going to be like, oh my god.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I still have
I'm
like, I
not
mean,
playing Final Fantasies.
I know. That's exactly it. I mean, I was looking at games that came out when the PS1 came out, and I'm looking at these games and I'm thinking, I remember playing that game on my cousin's. It was a game my cousin's. He was out, and I would come out his house and I would just put a random game on, and I remember playing like the Final Fantasy games. It's just not my jam. Like
Yeah.
it has its place. That kind of combat has its place as well. I've played a few games like that, and they're great, but I'm just not into that, especially the more modern day ones where they just increase the cutscene length, and that's honestly, I don't. You're sitting for like half an hour and stuff, and you've not even even hit a boss. So
do you
it's a
know?
weird thing.
Do you know? I just always remember seeing the Final Fantasy PlayStation One cases because it was always just like a white background with a font saying Final Fantasy, and it would be like either like a green or an orange, like wee bit of splash at the back of it, and that
Yeah,
was it.
they were different, weren't they? They
With
were
a number.
different. Aye,
That was it.
they, they,
It was
and they
crazy.
stood out as well, which was weird
Yeah, yeah.
when you consider that.
There was about 49 of them for the PlayStation One.
Aye. I was just 49 discs in one game. That was all that was. That was the first time I'd seen like the mega case. The one that
That's
you
right.
could like
Aye,
get in
aye.
somebody's head in with. It was like about that thick.
Metal Gear was like that as well. Metal
Oh
Gear.
right, okay, right,
That
okay.
came in, I think it was about 4 discs or something. It was
I'm
ridiculous.
sure that was probably another one that my cousin had, but obviously back, even my friends like they had maybe like a couple of Star Wars games and stuff like that we used to play, Twisted Metal, that kind of thing. He had those
Mhm.
kind of games. That's how I kind of know them through him, Army Men, that kind of stuff.
Classic.
Exactly, it's a classic, you're right. But that's about as much as that kind of thing. I mean, I think most of the games I played or asked for was um, wrestling games or sports games, FIFA, that kind of thing, but nothing too adventurous. So in the comments, if anybody's got any games that they think that would be worthwhile going back to play, then hit us up and leave some suggestions, and maybe even it's something that we maybe pick back up again when this PS Plus update comes out, and we just pick one. Maybe it's something that the two of us can do actually. If you get it, obviously that's not something, but we can pick a game once every couple of months and revisit it, see what we think.
Was your PlayStation 2 kind of memories the same? Did you kind of not play much of the classic games, or was that were you much more broad? Excuse me, broader.
I think for PlayStation 2, when we were starting to kind of play, I think that was maybe when, like, say, Grand Theft Auto, because I think PS2 was GTA 3. So obviously I played GTA 2 back when I really shouldn't have been on
Hmm.
on the earlier kind of PlayStations, and it was really good. You're playing that, playing it quite the way that you're supposed to be playing it. I think I've just basically listened to music and on my wee CD player or whatever, and run about in circles. So it's not really something, but I remember my friend who's there across the road. He had GTA 3, and I would just try and find every excuse I could to go to his house,
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
his house, and just play this, because it was just this revolutionary Sorry, I struggled for that one there, but it was just something different. It was just something special. This 3D, you know, for all intents and purposes, it was massive. You know, when you look at it, when you looked at it now, it was tiny, but it was this massive game. You know, with these cars, and you could run about and you're running about with a baseball bat and all that stuff, and ambulances and police and all that stuff. Like, so as much as I still was on the FIFA train, because I was very much on the FIFA train through my full kind of PlayStation life. I still had those touchstone games, the Grand Theft Auto games, and some of the other ones as I was growing up. But it probably still more sports
Mhm.
focused than anything else. Because I mean, even GTA like Saran and whatever else, they all came out for the PS2. I'm sure, was it not? So
Yep, yep.
um, it's one of the things I did play, but just no as many kind of varied stuff. But I'd say that was more into the topic for for a future episode than my early memories more than anything else. For that kind of stuff, because back in the day, it was just as many different. It was loads of different kind of games on the Sega console, and then just as we get into the kind of PlayStation, it's just straight up sports games. I don't really know why, because it's not like I was a big football fan or anything like that. You know, my dad was, but I'd watch it if he was watching it with him. But other than that, like it's not like I was getting it every weekend and doing that. I was playing football quite a lot when I was wee, but I didn't really have a sporty brain, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
I don't really know why I gravitated towards them more than anything else. Maybe just because you don't have the influence.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Ah,
there's
maybe,
obviously
yeah.
relatives, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is a bit different. What about yourself then? Obviously, have you got any kind of final um, first games or early gaming memories before we wrap up?
I think Grand Theft Auto is definitely one. I think that's still. I think that's early enough.
Oh,
Grand Theft Auto
three
three,
definitely has a place
three.
for the early doors,
Um,
definitely.
just exactly what you said. Like I remember it was a Christmas and my big brother came over. It was his PlayStation 2, and he broke Grand Theft Auto 3 and he turned it on and he was like, "Play this." He was like, "Just play it. It's amazing." And I turned it on and I was like, "This, what is this? This is what a game can be." I
Yeah,
was like, I had
aye,
never seen or even imagined a game being like that.
aye.
And it's funny. It's so funny looking back now, and especially if you've got this brain at what games look like now, and you look at that and you're like, that just
Would you go back
looks
and play that
absolute
again,
rubbish.
the GTA 3?
Do you know? I
Or would you
think
know what
for
to break that glass, that
well,
nostalgic glass?
well, I think Rockstar need to fix the games first. I think they're still a absolute
Oh,
hot
listen,
mess.
Rockstar, he didn't say that. We still want your sponsorship.
I think there's a hot mess still into it. So
I think so.
I'm definitely going to wait until they either do a good patch or something like
Hmm.
that. It's something I would definitely like to try. I more so Vice City and definitely San Andreas, but I would definitely give three a shot again. I don't think
Have you
three would
tried to go
stick.
back to any of them since
I,
you first played them?
San Andreas, I tried to go back to. I think it was on the PlayStation 4, maybe 3. I don't know. I tried and it was hard. Just the control just didn't feel right. Like there was a mission. It was a mission where a guy was in a boat and you need to assassinate with a sniper rifle, and
Oh,
the
I
movement
remember
of
that.
the movement of the boat just in the
Jank.
trying to move a sniper rifle with an analog stick. It just was. Oh, it was crap. It
Hmm.
was so crap.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Sometimes
this
you
is
don't
just
want to
totally
ruin
put
that
me
memory,
off.
don't you? Know you don't want
Well,
that.
that's it. That's it. You've got all this nostalgia and thinking how good this game was and how good it played and how good it looked. And then you go back to play it and you're like, oh, wow. This
It's
is.
night and
Oof.
day. Because especially like when I was mentioning, obviously the GTA, even the map, like you can drive around it in all of 10, 15 seconds, and I think obviously the gunplay is just completely. We're not want to sit and kind of poo poo over a game that was just was a milestone game, and
Mhm,
it definitely had its place, and should be held in the highest regard for that very reason, because it did
definitely.
change. how we viewed games, but when you try and play the games now, and you try to do some of these missions and you have to do them 2 or 3 times because something didn't quite work right, or it kind of glitches and the shooting's not quite there, or it's just not quite doesn't quite follow the same flushed out logic as it does now. It is a strange thing, but you probably did die quite a lot back then playing it
Hmm.
the first time round, because I've played them. Some of the mobile ports. So you've ever kind of, I know that I had Vice City at one point on one of my mobile phones, and it's obviously it's nowhere near as good. You think you should be playing any game like that on a mobile, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
But I did try it when I was back. As like lunch breaks when I was back in a previous kind of work. You could sit and play a bit with games and stuff at your lunch, just try to pass time, and that was one of the games that I was playing. It's a bit odd to try to play it on that, because I'd love to do it justice and get it on a nice big screen, but it's same as you. I don't want to ruin that feeling that you have when you think back of it on a GTA.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially, I was all in when they announced that, and then I was so happy. I don't know what happened. I just didn't buy it straight away, and then I was looking at the reviews, and it was just like, oh no, everybody's saying this isn't good, and I'm so glad that I never touched it because it's they're games that I would maybe like to try again, but I've not got that urge to race back to.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
as you said, it's the nostalgia. You've just got such nostalgia for it that I'm just like, I'm happy where I left it. And if they don't fix it and they're still a hot mess, then I'll just happily stay nostalgic and just never touch them.
You
Uh,
definitely don't want to ruin that feeling.
no, no, not at all. Another, dude, for you talking about sports games, I think that's definitely another touchstone and early love for my gaming kind of side of stuff. Always playing with my other big brother. One was racing games and the other was all sports games. You know, playing wrestling games, SmackDown games, FIFA, manager games as well, like football manager games as well. It was
Aye, aye,
LMA
yeah.
manager.
Me and
Um,
a good friend of mine used to play that a lot.
yeah, I've got such like good memories of just me and my big brother sitting playing all of these games, and it's still to this day. That's probably the reason I play the sports games because you know yourself, I'm not really into not really into sports at all.
Yeah.
But I play a lot of the games, and then yeah, it's pure nostalgia, and it's actually really nice. It's nice feelings looking back, especially the LMA manager. So, like we used to always play it, and we would just go two teams in the same league, and you would be playing, and I would always be second in the league, and he'd always be first in the league. And every time you'd get to the game, you'd be like, "Oh no, I'm going to get beat."
That older
uh,
brother syndrome. They're gonna do something that you've no thought of, or he probably knows all
aye,
the tricks, and you're
aye,
just got to play as best you can.
he knows all the good players. That he's like, "Aye, so you should maybe buy him this rubbish guy, but good
he
enough to win you, get you second."
he taught you something, he just didn't teach you everything.
Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely a big love for my gaming side. I know a lot of people don't like sports games and they're annualized and it's the same game every year, but it's just every
That's what
year
it's
you
about,
get it.
though. It's a draw. It's why they're big sellers. It is a draw,
Yeah,
and it does hold a kind of place for us. We still buy FIFA just about every year.
yep,
Skipping them every now and again, and it's maybe not so much obviously the last couple of years, but we still buy almost every wrestling game when they're kind of discounted, because we're not the biggest fans, but it still holds a place. I think that's actually something that probably just is a link from when you first started playing games. It's just
yeah,
something that's it kind of tickles that feeling of being young and being able to play games and kind of forget. That's
yeah.
the
That
cycle.
a natural
That's the
gaming
touchstone
itch,
for that.
isn't it?
Aye, definitely. It's just one of those things. If you go a wee while without playing them, you can, do you know, I could really go one of their games. So I think that's kind of the biggest drive for me anyway, playing those kind of games, and that's why you lose weeks and weeks. playing them is
Mm-hmm.
because it's just something that you might not feel passionately about sport, in real life, but you can go back and play these games, and it's just like you were playing them, back in the day. Although this time they look a wee bit nicer on your bigger TV than your wee tiny TV back in the day. So yeah, definitely. I think for me, I think that's us kind of covered most of my first kind of earliest kind of gaming memories. I don't know about yourself if you've got
I've
anything
I've
else, mate.
only I've only got one more. It's not really an early gaming memory, but it's a definitely vivid gaming memory, and it's kind of it's I've no I think through your gaming life you kind of have these memories that just stick with you. And this one is just one that always sticks with me, and it was when I played Bethesda's Elder Scrolls.
Oh,
I know it's a PlayStation 3 game and it's not an early memory, but
that's
I'm
early enough. Sure, we're old.
it's about it's about 18 years ago now.
Scary, innit?
Um, but this this game I bought, and I remember I was looking at it in a shop and it was discounted, and I was like, "What is this game?" I was like, "Knights and what and monsters," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm into these type of games." I was like, "I'm not really into this kind of dragons and stuff like that." So I bought it and took it home and played it, and this game totally changed my entire gaming life.
That was you. You're
It
glued to it.
glued RPGs. I just wanted every game to be an RPG after that. I'd never played a game like that. And it also made me realize I'm a mega geek.
Ah, never,
Because I
never.
was playing it and I was going, wait, I love this. I love all this stuff. Actually, dragons and knights and magic. And I was like, I never knew I liked any of this. That
Mm,
was just one of the games that I had nobody influenced that game at all. Nobody in my life liked stuff like that. And then I just found it myself, and it's just such a vivid memory that it's great. I love it. I love it, and that's another reason why Bethesda means so much, because
yeah.
that's it's they introduced me to like a proper RPG, um, and it just changed my full gaming uh, life. Really,
It is strange to think about that. And to be honest, I did play one of the Elder Scroll games on an older laptop of mine. I played Morrowind before that, but I didn't realise that there was PS3 iterations of these games. So I didn't realise that Oblivion of that was a thing. And I think it was you that actually introduced it to me, because I'm sure you gave me the game. Now I didn't play much of Oblivion, but it was still something that even when I'd seen you kind of playing it, I'm thinking, no, no way, how is this? How was, because it was just night and day compared to Morrowind. I don't know if you've ever went back and played that one, but
I've seen
it's
videos of it.
um it's just very basic in comparison to what you could do, or what these options and speaking to people and all that kind of stuff. It was quite strange, when you think back uh, at those kind of gaming memories. Thinking back and the difference in that kind of game versus your usual PlayStation games and your Need for Speed and all that kind of stuff.
Yep,
It was
yep,
it stood out there, and definitely one
yeah.
of the touchstone games for sure.
For me, it was one of the games. Well, I think every other game I'd played before that was sports game, racing game, or linear story. Like no
Yeah,
linear story, but linear path. I mean, Grand
yeah.
Theft Auto, isn't it? But I didn't really go at that box. I was just always in that kind of. It was always action, linear, kind of, and
Yeah, even your
this
Spider Mans and
was
stuff back then were still quite
yeah.
linear when you think about it.
Aye,
Those
it was all,
those in the cloud games, like
yeah,
you know,
it was open world, but it wasn't open world. But you would be going to the next thing to do, the next bit of story. It's not the same. Well, this is just like, here's an open world, and you can go anywhere, you can do anything, and you'll get different missions. Just go and discover, and that's just it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And actually, looking at this, I went back. I went back the other day when I was writing my notes, and I was watching somebody play it, and I was like, Oh my god, this game looks
No,
awful.
I was going to say, is it not what you remember?
That's another
uh,
game that could just stay in that nostalgia back in my brain and just stay there and
don't
never
open that
touch
door.
again.
Don't open the door. So that's the two takeaways from this episode. If you're still here at this point, but don't get stuck in the first level. Try and beat these games. Don't get stuck in the first level, and don't ever open the door to these games of old. Because it's definitely nostalgia is a powerful thing, and it can elevate some of the classics to places that will never live up to. So that's my bit of advice. So I've been Mr. Mac. We've got Gary Moore here, Vault Dwellers Pod. Give us a like, give us a wee cheeky review, a wee comment,
Smash
share
that
it,
like button.
smash the like button. We're going to try and get this uploaded fairly quickly, depending on some progress and some background stuff. Hopefully, you have liked this kind of taste. It probably did seem, might seem as if it was, oh, what's the kind of purpose, but there's some real focus and drive behind myself and Gary getting these podcast ideas together, and as I say, it's a real passion project. So we're hoping to keep it up at least once a month, if not every kind of second week or so. So make sure you kind of share and help us out trying to get some more viewers. Would really obviously appreciate that kind of sharing and liking. So until next time, take care.
Goodbye, children.
Hi everyone, thanks for listening. This has been the Vault Dwellers Podcast. If you'd like to keep up with myself and Mr. Gary Moore, Gary is on Instagram at Gary Moore's Art, and you can find myself over on Twitter and Twitch at MrMac92. And a very special shout out to a very talented artist, our good friend Hoodie, for creating the logos used on the Vault Dweller Podcast. Keep up with Hoodie at the Penny Marvels on social media.